Hi, welcome everyone. My name is David Eardley, and I'm the founder and co-creative director of Pink Essay. Pink Essay is a design archive featured on at Pink Essay on Instagram. And pinkessay.space is our site. Pink Essay is dedicated to featuring new and archived work from designers working over the past and today, and we particularly focus on progressive design and design that stands out from the crowd. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Zoë Rayn to speak today. Zoë is the creative director and founder of Caldera Magazine. Caldera is a design and art magazine dedicated to featuring the work of designers who are people of color or identify as queer. And Zoë's magazine is doing really amazing work to feature designers who may design work that is really setting the tone for what is important today. So I'm really excited to welcome Zoë and have a talk today. Hi, Zoë. Welcome. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to have you on today. It's so interesting to be talking from so far apart, and I'm excited for you to share your story today. Zoë and I chatted a while back for our Pink Essay project, Roomy, about her work, and I'm really excited that today we get to feature it on a new platform. So I wonder if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the story of Caldera Magazine for those who might be new to the project.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I'm Zoë Rayn. As David's mentioned, I'm the founder and creative director of an independent publication called Caldera Magazine. We're based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and have really worked over the last 3 years to build both a print and online publication that focuses solely on the voices of artists and creatives and designers from Black, POC, and queer communities. You can hear sirens. Apologies. A lot going on over here these days. But yeah, I started the magazine in like 2017 and launched it publicly in January of 2018. And it just manifested from it manifested pretty organically after conversations with friends and previous colleagues that had been coping with realizing they were being tokenized in the workplace or fallen victim to being like the token Black person in the art show and that kind of stuff. So it came from a place of wanting to really build a community in everything that community is supposed to be. So it's supportive, we aren't censoring people, we're giving full agency to artists and creatives to really represent them and their works the way that they need it to be to do it justice.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to have you on today. How has your mission evolved since founding the magazine back in 2017/18?
The mission definitely hasn't evolved per se, but we've definitely expanded in terms of the content we cover. Originally, I mean, I have a commercial fine arts background. I've worked in art galleries and like the fine art sector for years. So we were very much visual and performing arts focused when we started. So your painting, sculpture, theater, dance, that kind of stuff. And that was really for the first 2 issues. Then around the 3rd issue, I started to see there was interest from other creative industries. So we started to branch into culinary, design, architecture, fashion, music. And so it's evolved in that way. But our mission has always been, and will probably continue to be, really just like giving agency to the people we're featuring and saying, we have a brand voice. We know what we want this to look like in the end package. But if what we are asking of you is going to inhibit your message and your work, we'll work with you to like reframe that because we don't want to inhibit anyone's message.
That's beautiful. I know when we talked last time, you spoke about how the effect that having a preserved space for Black POC and queer people and queer creatives has when you actually have a creative physical space. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what you notice when there is a space carved out that's specifically a space, safe and creative space.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think I was telling you, it's more profound than you would think it would be to create a safe space and really intend for it to be a safe space. watching people come in and immediately drop their guard. There's no, I think it's really subtle in that you can really only tell if you're paying attention to people's body language. And I wonder if anyone that like isn't from a marginalized community would be able to recognize that like when that's happening. So maybe that's like a fun little private experience that we get to have. But it was amazing being able to watch people walk into the exhibition space and see themselves reflected in the work that was on display, see themselves reflected in the majority of the audience that was there, and to know that people facilitating the event also looked and sounded and thought like them. And I don't know that there's anything more powerful than that.
Wow, so special. Thinking about how you run a magazine in the kind of the world we live in today, it's kind of fast media and digital media. What role do you think that magazines play in setting the tone for today's culture?
It's a very good question.
It's a broad one.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like every generation has like some type of media that they cling to and hold on to, and then like grow with, and then look at with nostalgia when they get older. And for us, I feel like magazines are like not just for us, probably Gen X too, but like magazines were a really big part of growing up. And that like, that's how I got interested in design and art and fashion and all of things. I was definitely one of the people that had plastered their bedroom walls with like ripped out magazine pages. So I know tons of other people were as well. But I think the lessons we learned looking at those magazines, and now like obviously the conversation of representation is so big. I think a lot of us pull from those experiences flipping through magazines and realizing that we didn't see anyone that looked like us or thought like us on those pages is like now all coming to light, if that makes sense, if like I'm talking circle. But because of that, I think magazines play a really big role in this moment, specifically independent magazines, because we aren't tied to big businesses and advertisements or anything. So we can really be the voice of people, as cliche and maybe dramatic as that might sound. It's true. We look at the audience, we can look at our communities and see what people want and what they need, and we can document moments in history that maybe don't affect like the larger world, but are very relevant for us and our communities. And I think that's the biggest role magazines could play right now.
That's really true, is like kind of getting away from the idea that just because something is big and mainstream means that it's necessarily the most important narrative, and like recognizing that narratives that maybe apply to specific groups of people are equally valid. Why do you think people are craving so much this kind of that connection to something really personal, something really like a print narrative that is really specific?
I think it's because we live in such like a fast-paced, like immediate, like everyone social media. I think we all have a love-hate relationship with social media. I
certainly do.
Well, because of it, we're so used to getting things in a very pretty package, like very immediate. You can see everything and anything at any given moment just by searching a hashtag, and that's great and it's important. But I think at the end of the day, most of us do like to sit with something and meditate on it and really consume it in its entirety versus getting bits and pieces. I was reading something the other day about like, obviously there's civil unrest around the world for Black Lives Matter. It's amazing. People are like, our brains aren't able to process information as quickly as it's coming. And that's important to recognize. Like the concept of feed fatigue is ridiculous, but it's also very much a real thing. And I think having magazines or any type of independent media that like lets you really sit with it for an extended period is comforting at the end of the day. And I think at this point, we all really need that. Yeah,
that's so true. And it forces a space to like really sit with what you're reading. Do you have any publications either from the past or that are around today that you feel like have really informed the identity that you're creating in Caldera?
I don't know that it would be like from the past per se, but I know there are a few other magazines, like Cult Classic has always done a really good job
Okay.
of being very diverse and equitable, like across the content that they share. There are a few other independent publications like Off Kilter, which is based in Chicago. They have a very similar mission to Caldera, but they were started closer to like eight or 10 years ago or something. There are publications like that that have just like from the beginning been doing diversity correctly.
Yeah.
So we always look to them with inspiration, especially in terms of like how to keep going and not lose momentum. But I think more than magazines informing the work that we do or the overall brand, it's I look at different art spaces and like institutions.
Oh, cool.
But I think that's also because I like come from that professional background, so it's hard for me to not. But yeah, I think if you're not familiar with museums or galleries or like the fine art industry, it's a dumpster fire of like racial and gender issues, similar to most other industries. But yeah, there's the effort people put into trying to make those spaces equitable and diverse is what I look to often.
Cool.
Okay, if we can lead by example by doing what they're doing wrong correctly, I feel like that's like a nice full circle way to share how to actually do diversity correctly. As harsh as
cool. So thinking about kind of the relationship that Caldera has with the design industry in particular, I would love to hear about what kind of your vision is for how you and the magazine would like to impact the design industry, and then vice versa. How would you like to see the design industry step up and really do the work to make it a place that is not only more diverse, but also safe for Black people and people of color and queer creatives?
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot of people writing about this in the last week of like being a Black founder, and like it's like a very weird time to be a creative entrepreneur and also happen to identify as Black or POC or queer, because there's this quiet pressure, or for some people very loud pressure to lead the industry and like tell people this is exactly what we're going to do. And I've been meditating on it for a while now, and I realized that like the best thing we can do to be impactful is to continue doing what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Just hope that now that people have noticed that we're doing it, that they, like I was saying previously, like say, oh, that's how you do that. We can just start to do that too. And in terms of like the larger design community, I'm seeing a lot of independent designers or freelance graphic designers more so volunteer like pro bono work to different like frontline organizations, and that's amazing and great, and I would love to see more of that. But it does feel a tad reactionary and very in this moment, and everyone's frantic and panicking, so I don't fault anyone for that. But I think it would be more impactful and more sustainable if instead of like just putting out a random call on social media and saying, if you're an organizer, we'll do pro bono design work for you, to do the footwork, look around in your community, like your city, your town, wherever you are, and look for the nonprofits that are doing that work. And that might look different. It's not all like racial justice work. Most art nonprofits and culture nonprofits cater to BIPOC and queer communities just by nature. So if you were to reach out to, like as an independent designer, like you could do that footwork, reach out to an organization that maybe isn't hosting protests, but like they're doing this work all year round anyways. And I'd love to donate like 12 hours of design, like pro bono design work to your organization, like 4 times a year, or like whatever your schedule allows for. Like things like that, I think are more sustainable and actually like push for long-term change. And that's really great. If you're with like an agency or something, I have a list of demands that I would But I was actually I'm part of a design community here called Crafted Vision that's based here in Philly, and we just had a meeting about this, but how we can tap creative agencies to like do more work, and that obviously you can't necessarily do pro bono work, given like the client scale and like the volume of work that a full agency has to take on. But like our school system doesn't have many art programs, and most there aren't any at all. So it could be a matter of partnering with the school district and saying like a few times a month, we want to host like a design course for juniors and seniors in high school. And then that would eliminate the need to go to college if you can like get a baseline skill set, things like that, that are again, just more sustainable and more long-term. But that's what I think the design community as a whole could start to look into pursuing.
That's really great advice. Finding your avenue within work that's already being done is really important. For you, other than I would love to hear for you to share where people can find the magazine and where they can how they can support you all. Just what within your scope of your view, who is really getting you excited these days in terms of design, both like physical space and also like I'd love to hear about like graphic design and other fields that you work with.
Yeah. So I've actually, and I said this in our interview, I tend to look to the past more than I look at the present or future, and staying very on brand for myself. I have actually been diving into Archie Boston's work a lot as of late. I'm writing a piece on like a design community, and I'm like referencing some of his work just because he was such a prolific designer, and that he made it very clear that mentorship is a huge thing, and that using your identity in your work is like very important, because at the end of the day, like we can't be anything other than what we are, and that's naturally going to inform the work that we do. So been very inspired by him again lately. A space, I'm sure you're familiar with Yowie here in Philly.
Yeah.
Runs Yowie. Yeah, that's she's been doing really incredible work with the virtual events that they've been facilitating, but also the signage she put up in her windows over the last few weeks, because obviously like when the protests started, there was a lot of concern for windows being broken, and she, being one of the few Black business owners on Fabric Row, which is the part of Philly where the store is located, she put these really explicit signs up that said, you know, we don't care if our windows get broken. These are the causes you can support. And this is a Black-owned business, and all of these kind of messages. But it just like reconfirmed that she's a badass, and the space is amazing, and the community around the space is amazing. Yeah. Those are the two that come to mind right off the top.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. I'll make sure to share them when we share the video, and so people can find them on Instagram. Cool. Thank you so much for coming, making time, and talking. And we're huge fans of what you all are doing, and I hope we can keep collaborating. Where can people go to both explore the digital side of the magazine and also to purchase a copy?
Yeah, so we are online on our website at calderamag.com, and we do ship internationally now. And I finally figured that out. And we are in store, well, soon to be in store at Brand Assembly in New York, and other stockists. Yes, thank you. So we'll update all of our stockists and stuff as they come up on social. So you can follow us on Instagram, sign up for our newsletter, all that jazz.
Beautiful. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Zoe. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll be in touch. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.